So today's Cup of Joe lesson, I've titled the If-Then Technique. This might be one of the most powerful tools that you can put in your mental writer/creator toolbox. So y'all remember some of the other tools that we've talked about, like the ventilation file. You know, sometimes when things are just getting too overwhelming, you're dealing with too much anxiety, you feel writer's block creeping up, the power of having a ventilation file, a place where you can go and just vent. The if-then technique is similar in the fact that it's something that you do ahead of time. So we all know we're going to have bad days. We know we're going to have those times when we just feel like we blew it. We set a goal and we fall way short. You set a time to write for 60 minutes, nothing came out. You felt blocked. Or everything you wrote, you're going to have to trash. Having a plan in place for when you feel like you failed is going to be one of the best things you can do. And so many people don't do this. I didn't do this. I never even thought about doing this. But now I do, and I got to tell you, it makes such a huge difference, especially with developing habits and keeping on track with habits. Because nobody's perfect. Anytime you set out to do a new habit, you're going to fall off. You're not going to be able to keep consistent 100% of the time. So you got to plan for it. Like, it is going to rain, so you may as well buy an umbrella. It's eventually going to happen. And one of the things that strikes me as interesting, and I'll read this quote, I'll put it on the screen. Stanford professor Kelly McGonigal says, "The number one reason why willpower fades and people fail to remain consistent with their habits and goals is that they don't have a plan for dealing with failure." And just think through times in your life when you had a goal, whether it's the classic New Year's resolution to get in shape, to eat healthy, to stop doing X and start doing Y. And maybe you're really good for the first couple weeks in January. Maybe you make it all the way to February, but something happens. Your willpower fades. The excitement of this new habit, this new goal, for whatever reason, wears off, and you miss a day. You miss 2 days. You miss a week. You miss 2 weeks. You start piling on the guilt. You start telling yourself, what was the point? What was I thinking? Or you've done this in the past so many times that if you're like me, when you set out to do a new goal or maybe retry that same goal, you're haunted by your past failures. You're haunted by the voice in your head that says, you tried that before. You remember what happened that time? You tried that before. You didn't even make it a week. What makes you think you're going to be different this time? What's the point? And many times you talk yourself out of it. You don't even try. What if the one thing you were missing was having a plan in place for when you inevitably fall off the track, when you inevitably lose that willpower, you lose that motivation, you lose that excitement, or circumstances happen, life happens? What if you had a detailed plan in place that got you right back on track? That could be the difference. Maybe it's not your own lack of willpower after all. Maybe it's not your own lack of discipline. It has nothing to do with you. Maybe it's just your lack of proper planning. And if you fix this one little thing, a snowball effect can occur and you'll never look back. So let's dive into this a little bit deeper. It's literally one of the most life-changing things I've put into practice this last year. So the if-then technique. Again, this is inspired by one of my favorite authors on the topic of habit creation, formation, and sticking to our habits, James Clear. And he gives this analogy about going on a long road trip, and eventually you're going to hit a stoplight somewhere. Now, what do you do when you hit this stoplight? It slows you down on your journey. Do you throw out the whole journey? Do you say, well, what's the point of this journey? Now we're never going to make it at the time I wanted to because we're slowed down at this stoplight. May as well quit. Let's go back home. No, that'd be ridiculous. Or what about if you live in a part of town where there's a train that goes through your town, like there is mine, and if you hit that sucker at just the right time, too bad, you're stuck there for sometimes 20 minutes or more, and it maybe totally screws up your timeline. What do? Do you just quit and give up? No, it's part of the journey. You're gonna hit a stoplight. You're gonna hit a train every once in a while. Or if you're a daily commuter, like I used to be in the corporate world, oh my gosh. If it was a rainy day, I would look out and go, oh no, there's going to be a traffic accident. There's going to be a jam. It's going to take me an hour longer to get to work, maybe more. I'm going to have to stay late now. Or one little accident. Gosh, you know the drill. You're going to be backed up in traffic forever. So these things are just going to happen. But The thing with goals, the thing with focusing more on the process instead of the result, see, we get so result focused and we lose track of just the process. You know, I'm always preaching that. Just process over results. Of course you want results. Of course you want goals in mind. But think about the type of person you need to become and what does that person do in order to achieve those results. And let's focus more there, because I love what he says here. It's all about average speed, not maximum speed. It's all about average speed, not maximum speed. I read a funny quote the other day that talked about one of the most exciting feelings is when you're on a road trip, right? And you stopped, you're following this one car, right? Like there's just this red car, you know, sometimes you could be driving with them for like an hour. And I don't know, maybe it's just me, maybe I do this. I kind of compete with that red car. Like, I think I'm going to get there faster, or then, you know, I'll get on cruise control and all of a sudden I'll see them fly by me. And I'll kind of be like, oh yeah, no, I'm going to get back in front of you. And then what happens? Kids got to go to the bathroom. We got to pull off at a rest stop. There goes that red car. Lost that little silly game I was playing with them, right? But then, let's say I get back on the highway. Sure enough, maybe an hour later, there's that red car. And now I'm passing them, right? So, because probably they had to stop somewhere along the way or whatever. It's all about average speed, not maximum speed. So think about that with your goals and your habits. You fall off one day, it's not a big deal. It's not about maximum speed. It's about average speed. All right, let's keep going. This is going to be the if-then technique. This is what I want you to do ahead of time that will save you so many more days of frustration. It goes like this. If something unexpected happens, then your response. If then. If something happens, and it will, what are you going to do? Think through ahead of time what you're going to do. It sounds so simple, and it is so simple. It's not always easy, but it's definitely simple, and it's something any one of us can do. So how about we go through a few examples to give you some inspiration. If I don't wake up in time to run tomorrow morning, then I'll run after work. If I can't make it to yoga during my lunch break, then I'll take a stretching break this afternoon. If I buy something unhealthy for lunch, then I'll cook a healthy meal for dinner. See how this works? If I don't write 500 words before noon tomorrow, then I'll set a timer and write for 20 minutes after the kids go to bed. So you're pre-planning what's going to happen if you don't accomplish your main goal. So as you're making your list of your habits that you're wanting to build, think through what's going to happen when you fall off the wagon. So my 3 main habits, the ones that also correlate with my mason jars and the glass beads, I thought through which habits are like the keystone habits that by doing those automatically knock over more dominoes, so to speak. They cause the positive chain reaction. Now for me, number 1, I've talked about it a lot, it's exercise. Number 2, writing. And number 3, planning. So for those 3 keystone habits that I'm building, I need to go through and write if-then statements for each one of those. So if I don't hit my morning workout, then what am I going to do? One of those for me is I don't miss the next day's workout. So I've realized that it's okay if I missed a workout, just don't miss 2 days in a row. Now I could get different variations of that, you know, maybe get it in later in the day or whatnot, but that one works for me. So I'd encourage you to come up with your keystone habits that you want to focus on, and then come up with if-then statements for what's going to happen when you don't show up like you planned. Regardless of the habit that you are working to build, missing a single day has no measurable impact on your long-term success. Everybody just breathe a huge sigh of relief right there, right? I'm going to read that again. Regardless of the habit that you're working to build, missing a single day has no measurable impact on your long-term success. So instead of beating yourself up over it and quitting, just realize long-term, this doesn't matter. What matters is that I get back on track. And that's what this if-then technique is going to do. So important. Like literally, this has been the difference in me struggling to commit to and stick to my habits for years and actually sticking to them in 2021. It's having these backup if-then statements. And I kind of have to shake my head because it's like, this was the missing piece. All along, I thought it was me, but it was really just I didn't have this proper plan in place for failure. It was inevitable. And it's not so much failure. It's just, it feels like failure when you're like me and you're a perfectionist and you're such a streak person and you're dealing with those haunting thoughts from the past. We can kill those right away if, number 1, you remind yourself that, hey, missing a single day has no measurable long-term impact. So what can I do to get myself back on track? So I hope this helps you, and I hope you take the time to go through and actually do this. Don't just take in this information. I want you to write down your if-then statements. All right, what could it be? Even if you miss an Unchained Writer session that you'd plan to attend, then what are you going to do? Say, this doesn't work for me. I can never get there. What's the point? Think about it and just say, maybe I'm not going to miss the next one. Or I'm going to join one of the rogue sessions. Or I'm going to set my own timer and go back through one of the replays. There's a number of different things. Experiment with what works for you and find the one that helps you get back on track and practice it. Experiment with it. Take notes. Journal on it. And I think you'll find this will help you commit to your goals, your habits, and keep them. And the results, well, it's only a matter of time. They'll become inevitable. Thank you again for hanging with me. Big Unchained Writer group hug, virtual high fives all around. Give yourself that well-deserved pat on the back. Don't forget, if you've fallen off track, it's super easy to get back on and create a plan to get back on quickly.